Hello and welcome, my name's Hicks and thanks for joining me in this first impressions video. This one's a little bit different today as we are going to be looking at some LED lighting, and that's going to be in the form of the new modular LED lighting from Spekular. Let's take a look. So like I said, this is LED lighting and it's called Spekular, and it's from the company called Spiffy, and the Spekular is the name of the product that they've brought out. And this came out I think late last year, and I was actually involved in the beta sort of version of this. So many months ago I was sent this pack to test and play around with, sent back some feedback and that sort of stuff, and anyways it's been out and they sent me one of these to check out and play with. I just haven't had a chance to get around to putting a sort of first impressions video with it, or even get a chance to play with it. It's just been mad busy. But let's have a look. Let's take a look, see what's inside the box. So obviously first off we've got the case. Let's just open that up. Okay, and this is it. Okay, so there should be 4 of these in here. These are the actual LED blocks themselves. I think they're about 30 centimeters or a foot long. I think they're about, what, 4 centimeters square or something like that. So yeah, pretty self-explanatory so far. All right. What else is in the box? We have the attachment. So this will make sense in a second, but basically the LED blocks feed into these, they get tightened, and then you can adjust them however you want, really. Okay, so, and I'll show you how that works in a second. So we got 4 of those, and then obviously we got the power pack that comes in there, and then obviously that plugs into the mains via this one. I've got a US version here, hence the plug, so I've got an adapter for that, and then we just have the attachment to actually allow you to hang it onto a stand or something like that. You see it's got a light stand attachment point there as well. Also in here we obviously have a carry strap for the bag. Like I said, the power, some instructions, and last but not least, actually something that I haven't seen many other people talk about in the reviews and other bits and pieces that I've heard people talking about. These are actual clips that we can clip onto the blocks themselves. Okay, and this will make a lot more sense in a second when I go through some of the images I've taken, but obviously with these clips we can attach anything we want to those. So for example, gels, you could attach color gels to these. It's just a very simple way. You just put your gel over it and then just snap them on, and I think there's probably about, I don't know, 6 or 8 of them in there. So they all come as standard with the pack. So yeah, that's what's inside the box. What can we do with this now? What are some of the options? What does the modular LED lighting system actually mean? Okay, so what can we actually do with this? What is the benefits? What is the reason for bringing out yet another LED light? You know, what can we do with this specific Spekular version? And it comes back to these clamps and the individual blocks, and we're just going to concentrate on the core pack for now. I have some other bits over here that I'm going to speak about in a minute, but they are additional items that we can augment the base foundation block, pack, if you like. Okay, so like I said, these clips come in here and your LED blocks will actually just feed into them like this. You just unscrew at the back here, feed it in, tighten it up, and then we just do the same with all of these. Okay, it's very simple and it actually feels pretty robust and like it feels really snug. I say that as in, it doesn't feel like it's just gonna drop out if you sort of hang it upside down or anything like that. It feels very snug. Just make sure that everything is all the way in, because what's actually in there is like the actual contacts. So these are going to share power around this link, if you like, and they all need to be linked in here for that to actually work. This is one block in each of these packs that actually takes the power. So you can see obviously it has the power input there, the on-off switch, and then this is the dial to turn up and down the power of it as well. I'm just going to add that one on last. And then on this final block here, okay, all of the blocks have this groove that runs down the base of them, if you like, or the opposite end to the actual LED strip itself. Okay, and that's where you can slide this little gizmo in, and it's probably makes sense to make sure that the attachment hole, so where you can put your tripod or light stand attachment, okay, probably point it towards the base of it as well. You just slide that on, and then you can tighten that up. But obviously you can put that on any of these. I'm just choosing to put it on the power one because the power one is probably going to be at the bottom. Okay, just makes a little bit more sense. Boom, there you have it. Okay, so that's the standard sort of classic sort of shape, as I'm sure you can imagine. You know, you're going to start off with. This would also be great if you just wanted like a panel of light. So maybe I would use this with like a scrim if I wanted to, if I was shooting videos, something like that, and this was going to be off to the side. At the moment I'm using just a cheaper LED light off to the side here, but that's coming through a scrim. So, and this, I would probably use this in a similar sort of way. That being said, it is a very clean light, and we'll talk about that more in a minute when we actually look at some of the pictures, what I mean by clean light. But essentially, there you go, that's it, okay? So I'm just gonna get this all plugged in. Okay, so got it all plugged in now. So you can see dimmable wise, okay, it actually goes really low, and then without blinding you on the thing, it goes pretty bright. Okay, now, granted it's being augmented by the light that's already there, but that's pretty bright. Let's just take a quick look then. Let's take a reading. What's the actual stats on this? What do we got? So I got this at ISO 400 at 60th of a second. What's that giving me? So that's arm's reach. It's like what, 2.5 feet, something like that. That's giving me 5.6. 5.6 at 60th of a second at ISO 400. And yes, I know that there is additional light in the room, but with something that's this bright, that close to it, and I've checked it off camera as well, that's about, you know, that reading is pretty much spot on what it is consistently. So I mean, that's going to differ if you were to put obviously a scrim in front. You're going to lose, you know, half a stop or something like that as well. So it's a decent brightness, and that's just 4 of them, and we'll go on to sort of augmenting it with, you know, 8 as well in a second. And in fact, now would probably be a good time to bring that up, because not only can you make, you know, the square, but you know, you can make, well, you can do all sorts really. You can do like just a triangle. There's a triangle there, or like more of a block situation as opposed to a square, so you can just have a block of it. And then with the addition of like an additional pack and this Spekular star adapter, you can actually attach 8 strips to this, okay? And that's obviously going to be, well, hopefully twice as bright. So let's just put all that in there and see what that looks like. So this is now, let's see, 8 LED blocks. So this is 2 of the base packs, and then this is what they refer to as the Spekular star adapter. Okay, and everything just plugs into one another. It's a decent weight now, you know, don't get me wrong, certainly that's to be expected. And then we can just plug this in. Now I apologize, I'm sure it's actually probably just gonna flood the video with bright light, but let's have a look. Okay. Now what's nice about this is the fact that everything is connected, so you only need to plug in one of them, which is pretty cool. You don't need to plug them all in because the power will go around everything and that sort of thing. Go around them all. Okay, but that is yeah, it's going to be pretty bright now, and double the amount of light is going to mean an extra stop of light. And it's worth bearing in mind that, you know, when the readings I'm taking, I mean, I'm a still shooter, I'm not a videographer or anything like that, whereas a lot of people will probably be using these for video and that sort of thing. So the things that, you know, like the readings that I'm looking at, 60th of a second, ISO 400, 5.6, they're readings for, you know, stills. If you're shooting video, then you can happily go up to 1000 ISO and 30th of a second and all those sorts of things. You can get a lot more light out of it. I mean, this video here, for example, you know, is shot at what, f5.6, the video that we're on now, 30th of a second, ISO 1000. To give you some, just to give you a rough idea, you know, video is a little bit more generous with the amount of light that it can cope with. So this would be, I mean, that's going to be bright enough, no question. It's surprising how low it will go, and I say that because sometimes some LEDs will flicker. It's all well having a dimmable LED, but some of them will flicker. But this one doesn't seem to, from what I can tell from other videos and bits and pieces, is the fact that there's no flicker at whatever power it is, which is pretty impressive. Yeah. There's one other adapter or sort of thing that's worth, like an additional piece of kit that's worth mentioning, and that's the fact that you can have this. You can purchase this bracket as well, okay? And these brackets will daisy chain together, so you can quite obviously see that with a couple of these you can just have very long strips, okay? So you could have just like a long strip. So with just these two, obviously you can have 4, so that would be, you know, 4-foot strip. And they, you know, those packs come with additional, you know, power and that sort of stuff, so you can separate them. That's the one thing about this, is the fact that these are all linked. It's all well having the square, but without two, like, you can't independently adjust the power of these. These are all locked to one power from the mother LED, if you like. So what this kit does is it will basically enable you with these long cables to separate out your pack, if you like, so you could have maybe just 2 strips either side. So you could quite happily just have two 2-feet strips either side, so for hair lights, edge lights behind and that sort of thing. And with the power cables that being long enough, you can have them separate and adjust the power independently. Well, not independently, but you can have them apart, whereas normally the whole LED bank has to be kept as one unit, whether it be the, you know, the square, the 4, or the triangle, or the 8, and that sort of thing. That pack enables you to split them up with those longer cables, which is you know, certainly worth thinking about. Okay, so let's get back to these clips then that I mentioned right at the start. You know, all these specular packs, all the base packs come with a little bag of these 8 clips. Okay, so that means that you've got 4 LED strips, so you've got 2 clips for each of the blocks. Like I said before, what these clips do is they just enable you just to snap on the front of there, and you can then attach something to these. So, for example, you know, you could attach gels, and I'm going to show you some shots in a second on the screen over there, where I've attached that, attach some gels, and show you what sort of effects you can get. But it's kind of cool. You know, you can get some pretty interesting effects, and if you're a little bit creative and spend, you know, a little bit of time thinking about it and setting it up, you can get some pretty cool effects. Now, this strategically placed product behind me isn't just a subliminal sales pitch for my gels. Obviously, you can use whichever gels you want. I'm sure there are other decent ones available. I haven't heard of any that do them, but you can certainly use whichever ones you want. But the clips that go on, so my gels, you just go over here, and my gels are about 10 by 8 inches or something like that. So, and that's it. You just clip them on and you're off. Now, obviously on this one, there's the power knob there, so I'm just conscious to try and maybe put it at the end. On the end there. And that's now going to be completely gelled. You know, there's no white light creeping out there or anything like that. There's no gaps or anything. It's just all completely gelled. And yeah, you're off. So you can imagine now, if we were to have these 4 attached, we can start to mix and match and play around with some different ways of doing that and attaching gels to the different sides and bits and pieces like that. Okay, so I'm just going to build that real quick and then I'll show you what I mean as an example. Okay, so here's what I ended up with. Obviously the ring light again, the square, and all I've done is I've attached just a blue gel at the top just with the clips and an orange gel at the bottom. And I'll just mention now, the reason why I'm talking about, you know, gels obviously and this, you know, you don't have to use gels with this at all. You can just use it as a regular light, a video light, a normal ring light. You do whatever you want with it. It's just the fact that there's plenty of images out there where people are just using it as a ring light, and that's fine. I'm sure you're not going to be surprised by the results of what a ring light actually does. I just wanted to sort of show you something a little bit different that I haven't actually seen anybody else talking about or using the light in this way, even though the Spiffy guys have actually sent clips with it as well. But anyway, so as I'm sure you can imagine, if you're using this as a ring light and the model is, you know, this side of it and you're shooting through, obviously you're going to have the blue at the top and the orange coming from below. And cool, okay, fair enough. And I'm going to show you some shots of that in a second to see the sort of effects that you can get. But let's just turn this on a second. You should be able to see. Obviously, I'm going to keep the power down so that it's not, you know, drowning out the rest of the actual video light. So that's one way of thinking about using it. But like I said, you can only adjust the power of the whole thing together. You can't individually turn off certain lights or increase the power of one of the blocks over another block and that sort of thing. So, you know, it does have its limitations with regards to that, but there are workarounds for that I found. Because at the moment, if I take a shot with this, you know, the model being there, camera coming through here, then we're going to have orange below and the blue on top. But likely, what's going to happen is the fact that the colors will be washed out by the white lights. Okay, you should be able to see even on the video screen there that these lights are a lot brighter than these, purely because gels take away a lot of power from the actual light themselves. So it sort of can be a bit tricky to try and balance that out. How do you use this without washing out the color? One way that I actually did it was to actually use something called ND gels, which are neutral density gels, and I just got mine from my utility gel pack here. But what they are is essentially just grey gels, if you like. That sounds a bit odd, but they're grey because they have no inherent colour to them. All they do is just purely reduce the density of the light. So what I was doing is I was attaching these ND gels here, okay, to reduce the actual output of the white light, which then meant that it was, you know, not really washing out any of the colors as well. Now at the moment, I mean, I've just got like a 1 stop or 1.5 stops, but you can double those up if you want just pure color and no white light. But I found that experimenting with different amounts of ND gels and that sort of thing was actually, it was a nice sort of softer color gel, because the white light was sort of washing out the gel a little bit without it being too oversaturated. So it was fun to play with the balance on that. And you know, these clips, I think if I was to do this again, what I would do is I would just cut a strip of cinefoil or something like that, you know, a foot long, 4 centimeters wide or whatever it is, and just clip cinefoil onto these, so it would basically turn these off. And if I, you know, obviously if I wanted to have one of these on and one of them off, I would just have one cinefoil strip, or I mean, cardboard would do the same thing. Just, you know, attach a piece of cardboard or a cinefoil to that, and then you can play with it from there. So I found that it did open up quite a lot of creative options and possibilities, and this is one thing that I found was something that you can't do with strobe or anything like that. This is something that to me the LED strips and the blocks really brought to the table, that opened up new creative options rather than just oh, I can do the same with flash if I already have flash, but I can do it with LED. You know, and the LED, you know, ring, square, and everybody, you know, raves about it and that sort of stuff, which is fine, but there's a lot of them out there. I think this sort of thing opens up a lot of different ideas and creative options, especially if you're doing it with a, you know, a portrait headshot and that sort of stuff. It's something that people can physically see happening and that sort of thing. So I do think it is, I think it's pretty cool. But anyway, that's enough about the talking about it. Let's take a look at some of the images and I can show you and talk you through some of the options that I went through. Okay, so just going to open up some of these shots that I took in Lightroom. So, you know, these are unretouched, as it were. These are just in Lightroom. These are the raws. This first shot here, we can see straight away. So you can see that I've got the actual blue gel at the top strapped on and the orange gel at the bottom, like that. Okay, and we're going to go through some different versions here and just show you, and I'm just going to talk through some of the things that I did to begin with. So this is a little bit further away, and I say further away in that the model is a little bit further away. In fact, you can see in the catch light there that they are slightly smaller and a little bit further away. Okay, and it's just going to go through a couple of these. You should be able to see the fact that this is a softer color because I don't actually have any neutral densities on the actual edges yet. Okay, it's a slightly softer color. And it works a little bit well, so the model's getting a little bit closer now. You should be able to see that previously a little bit further away, a little bit darker. Come in a little bit closer, really separates out the light even more because the closer you get to it, obviously the more defined the separation between the light is. Okay, so then I moved on, and here you can see now that I've actually attached some neutral density strips to the side here, and I've probably got a couple on each side, so it's probably at least 2, 3, maybe 4 stops of light is being taken off the sides here. So literally almost hardly any white light is going to be coming out of here, so the colors should now be a little bit stronger. Okay, and we can certainly see that here straight away. We can see, you know, the model's looking down, so the orange is now hitting the face from below, and then when she looks up, we should be getting more of the blue on top there as well. So that's with the you know, the blue on the top, the orange on the bottom, and that sort of thing. And then I moved on to actually switch it to the side. So rather than having the blue on the top and the orange on the bottom, I actually had the blue on the left and the orange on the right. Okay, so again, like, it's pretty clean. Like, you can see the actual separation of light here is pretty clean. It's not stepping or jumping or anything like that. And I do think that's because there's still, you know, a little bit of white light coming in here that is actually softening those up a little bit. Okay, which is actually quite nice, and that is perfectly adjustable via the ND gels. Just to give you some idea, so this is actually up here, I didn't actually mention it before, so ISO 160, f2.8 at 100th of a second. So that's with gels on it, and gels can take 2, 3, sometimes even 4 stops of light away from the actual power of the light itself. So, you know, even with gels on it, you can still see that there's a decent amount of power coming out of it. Again, this is really nice here, and you know, this is in Lightroom, this is the raw, so the light is very separate. And then switched around, obviously you can see when she, you know, turns to her right is more blue, and then when she turns this way is obviously more orange and that sort of thing. So you can play around with it like that. Okay, and then this is without any ND gels. Okay, so the blue is still on the left, the orange is still on the right, but no ND gels. So you can see how much it blows out the color. Okay. And then lastly, all I did was just switch up the colors around and just put blue on the left and pink on the right. Okay, so a little bit different, and then switched it around again, so blue on top and pink below. Okay, so now, I mean, I haven't decided to cut any of my gels down. You know, granted, it looks a little bit messy in there, but you know, you can see it strapped on the front there. It's not a problem. Definitely doable, and to be honest, quite a bit of fun to play with, because you know, you can mix that up with as many different colors as you want. Now lastly, I'll just come back and just talk about, you know, I mentioned right at the start of the video how clean the light was, and what I mean by that is that, well, I mean, just look at it. I mean, it's incredibly clean drop off either side. So this is just a regular ring light, no gels, nothing like that, and you can see it's a lot smaller now, so she's a lot further away than from me here. I'm literally looking through it. So this is 70mm, so I'm probably a good 3, 4, 5 feet away. But yeah, incredibly clean light with regards to the drop off. So you can see how we have a very clean highlight down the front here to shadow, clean highlight, then drops off to shadow, and then this little bit of highlight is bouncing off the white wall behind it. That's what's giving it this shape, but very even, very clean across the board. Okay, and this, I mean, it's. I haven't got an exact example of a flash ring light to show you side by side, but this is quite different because of the, I don't know whether it's the actual thickness of the light itself. It's actually quite thin, which is what gives it a cleaner light, because it's coming from a smaller light source. If you have a large ring flash with a thick ring around it, what can happen is that light source becomes so big in relation to the subject that it sort of fights with itself. This is very clean, defined light because they're those thin strips. And not that I would ever recommend anybody doing this, but you know, if you were bored and you wanted to shoot black and white, obviously you could do. You know, this gives you an incredible, strong, contrasty light because of how clean it is. So there we have it. That's just a quick look at some of the images and some examples of what can be done. It's certainly a lot of fun to play with and get to grips with, and you can play around with the different gels and, you know, the ND gels as well, and even just blocking out certain strips with cinefoil and that sort of thing. Something that I might want to play with again in the future. So yeah, so let's now just wrap up and just talk about some of the pros, the costs, and bits and pieces like that. Okay, so let's round this out now then. Let's just finish up with, you know, some final thoughts. And well, first and foremost, obviously it is quite different. It is offering, in my opinion, something that is not available anywhere else to my knowledge. You know, the modular system of being able to make all the different shapes and you know, like the strips, you can even separate them now with the additional kit, and also the fact that if you're willing to get a little bit creative, you know, it comes with clips, so you can just attach some ND gels and color gels on there, and I think it opens up a lot of different creative options, which is awesome. You know, that's what I love about lighting, and that's why I think this is great for what it does. The other really nice thing about this is actually the fact that the modular system allows it to be packed down very small. You know, we spoke earlier on, excuse me, like this is the pack that it comes in, and I think with everything in there, it's like 2.5 kilos or something, or under 2.5 kilos. So it's definitely very small, compact, but also you can open it up and then attach it and get this big ring light and that sort of stuff. So if you are a videographer traveling, and rather than, you know, with panels and bits and pieces like that, or even a ring light that you would have to carry in a big bag and that sort of thing, the thing that's really nice about this is the modular system allows it to be packed down very small and very compact. So that's another plus point as well. In my mind, you know, you could almost have that little bag, you know, always sort of with you in the back of the car or whatever it is, just in case something came up that you could use. So that's certainly a bonus as well. But let's have a quick look over here. So if we open up the Spekular website here, obviously you can see all the different bits and pieces and different ways that you can break it apart, make the different shapes and sizes and that sort of thing. And I'll link that down below as well. And but also, you know, what does this system run at? What does it cost? Well, obviously you can buy it from wherever you want. I am bringing up Essential Photo here because I already have a discount code that I've shared with you guys, which you can use here as well. So Essential Photo already sell it. You know, I'll be, you know, total transparency. These were given to me just to play with, have a muck about with, and that sort of stuff. You know, there's nothing in it for me. This is not an ad. This is, you get it wherever you want. Buy it, don't buy it. Entirely up to you. I'm just offering some information for you. But yeah, so let's have a look. Normally, in fairness, the regular cost of these is usually 650 GBP. So these Essential Photo do have them on sale at the moment, and I think you can get an additional discount off that with my code. But that's the cost of them for the base pack at the moment, is usually around around £600 for the base pack of the 4 lights and the 4 different brackets that you can make, the ring light and all the cables and bits and pieces and the clips and everything like that. That's the base product, and then obviously there's all the additional bits and pieces if you wanted to go down that route as well. And I think they're doing combo packs and all the bits and pieces like that. So that's the cost of it. It might seem pricey if you've never used LEDs before, and to me that seems a fair price in the LED market. You certainly can find some extortionate ones as well. I'll leave you be the judge as to whether you think that's value for money on your end. If you're going to be using it a lot, then of course it's value. If you're just going to be using it once or twice a year, then perhaps not. If you're going to be doing video, and if you're going to be adding video to your stills and that sort of stuff, then getting something like this could be a nice little addition. Anyway guys, that's it from me. Thanks so much for watching. Once again, another long video, and I will try and link all the different sections down below if you wanted to jump to bits and pieces and see the images and so on and so forth on their own. I'll link to all the websites and give the discount code and etc. down below. But yeah, once again, thanks so much for watching. Appreciate it. Check out my website, jkicksphotography.com, for more videos and reviews and bits and pieces like this. And hopefully I shall see you in the next one.